Hey everyone, it's Kyle with the Case and Kyle team, and today we are going to look at the market update for the month of July. We're going to compare it with the month of January to see how far we've come this year and the different changes in the different types of homes. So we're going to look at detached homes, and we're going to compare that with semi-detached and townhouses, as well as condo apartments. And we're going to see the different changes that happen between these different types in the average sale price. So let's jump into the numbers. All right, let's start with detached homes. In Hamilton, we saw it go from $812,000 up by 4.7% to $851,000. In Burlington, we saw it go from $1,423,000 down by 5.3% to $1,349,000. And in Oakville, we saw a really big drop from $2,189,000 down by 9.1% to $1,990,000. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Oakville, January we saw a massive spike. So I've mentioned this in past videos, and if you want to check out those, the playlist is down below. But there is month-to-month fluctuations depending on the types of homes that are sold. So if in January a whole bunch of higher priced homes sold, the average is going to be higher. So this is what we saw in January, specifically in Oakville. That's why there's such a large drop. But if you compare it with the rest of the months this year, it's very comparable to just a slight decrease, which we have talked over the last couple of videos. So what we can see in Hamilton, it's under $1 million. It's the lowest price, therefore we're seeing the greatest increase. Whereas in Burlington and Oakville, this is the highest price of any type of home, as detached homes are the most expensive. Therefore, they have seen the largest drop out of any of the prices starting at the beginning of the year when we had a really hot market compared to where we are now, where it's still a very strong seller's market, but it has cooled down and leveled off. All right, next is townhouses. In Hamilton, we saw it go from $629,000 up by 10.4% to $694,000. And in Burlington, we saw it go from $764,000 up by 8.5% to $829,000. And in Oakville, we saw it go from $966,000 up by 2.7% to $993,000. So in all three, we're seeing the prices continuing to rise, but once again, we see the lowest price points in Hamilton go up at a higher rate than we see in the higher price points in Oakville. So once again, it really depends on the price point. Especially in a seller's market, we see a greater increase in the lower price product because other people are getting priced out and outbid in places like Oakville and then Burlington, and the shift happens and people continue to move westward where it's cheaper in Hamilton. And this is why we're seeing the greater increase in both the detached homes, now once again in townhouses and semi-detached homes. And let's see what happens with condos. In Hamilton, we saw it go from $424,000 up by 11.3% to $472,000. And in Burlington, we saw it go from $534,000 up by 4.5% to $559,000. And in Oakville, we saw it go from $620,000 up by 10.5% to $685,000. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and we're seeing for the most part the same trend as we've seen in the last two as well. Hamilton is the greatest increase, then Burlington, then Oakville. But in here, we see Oakville is at a higher increase than in Burlington by a significant amount. And the reason is Oakville has far less condo sales than in both Burlington and Hamilton. So what we're seeing is the fluctuation, once again, are quite dramatic. So when you're comparing January to where we are now, there's quite a large increase. Whereas you would have compared it to one of the previous months, you may have not seen the same increase as you have. So once again, it's very similar. We're seeing increases across the board. And once again, this is all under $1 million. And most of this is right around the 500,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. So that's why we're seeing pretty high increases within the condo market across the board. Now, this is very interesting, especially since we saw the condo market take a significant hit during COVID, because a lot of people wanted to get out of the condo market and into homes where, whether it's a townhouse or detached home, where they have more space for their family to hang out outside, not have to wait for elevators as there was lines for many condos. And it created a lot of issues where people were like, I don't need to be here. I can move further out of the city and move into a place with more space. And that's what a lot of people in Toronto have done, coming here, and why we've seen such great increases in the detached homes as well as the townhouses specifically, as we've seen since the beginning of the year. But we're seeing condos are starting to come back. People are becoming more comfortable with it. And because they're being outpriced in the other categories, this makes a lot more sense for a lot of people, especially for older couples looking to downsize or young people looking to get into the market for their first home, whether it's a couple, young family, or single, just looking for that first place to get their foot into the market. And that's your market update for the month of July and looking back on what happened this past year. If you have any questions or you want any topics covered in future market update videos, be sure to comment down below and I will try to include that in future videos. Be sure to also like the video, hit that notification bell and the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all future market updates, as well as follow us on Instagram at Case and Kyle Team and on Facebook at Case and Kyle, and I'll talk to you next time.